So good morning and welcome to our presentation for the CSAW Embedded Security Challenge 2020. And now to introduce ourselves, we're part of Team bi0s, a small team of undergraduate students from India who are passionate about cybersecurity. And our small group mainly focus on hardware security, consisting of Hariprasad KV, Ashwin C, and myself Atul Menon. And all this was possible only with guidance from our mentor, Mr. Vipin sir. And now coming to the challenge overview, we actually received a Hi-Fi Rev B board which comes with a FE310G002 microcontroller, and it also features the popular ESP32 module which was used for standard Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. And the Hi-Fi Rev B also uses the Sego J-Link OB debugger. To flash the files onto the board, we use the Sci-Fi Freedom software development kit, and the challenges were released weekly in 4 sets consisting of 4 or 5 challenges each. And now this is a small video demo of how we solved one of the challenges. As you can see, we initially start by flashing the program onto the board. And once it starts, it establishes a server to which we connect to using the netcat. We specify the IP address of the server. Yeah, and once we have successfully connected, the program is initialized, and through using Gedra and static analysis, we already know the correct input that should be given to get the success condition in this program, which is 1331. So we give the input, yeah, and it gives us correct. Yeah, so that's a small demo of how we solve one of the challenges. Now coming to a more in-depth walkthrough of all the challenges. In challenge set A, we solved 2 challenges that were burst and Parthenon. Coming to burst, the challenge, it takes a string which is 3 numbers separated by spaces, and the inputs should follow this certain criteria which are specified below for input 1 and input 2, and the third criteria being that none of the inputs should be equal to 0. Now these conditions cannot be satisfied by normal inputs, and thus we use integer overflow to satisfy the conditions that were given. Now we know that multiple solutions are possible for this, but the approach that we have taken was brute force. Now coming to the second challenge of set A was Parthenon, and the challenge presents us with the following ciphertext which we recovered from the decompilation given by Gidra, and then through trial and error we figured out that the encryption scheme used was a columnar transposition cipher. And then we eventually decrypted the cipher and we got the required input which told us that the answer was right. Now coming to set B, the challenges that we solved was sequence. And in sequence, the challenge accepts a string as input and calls a function called fib, which generates an array with some values in it. And now the two space separated integers are taken as input and is then compared to the value at 24th and 28th indices of the generated array. And through static analysis using Gedra, we identify what the function actually does and what values it actually fills the array with, and we found out that 0 and 38 were the required values at the specified indices to get the success condition. Now coming to set C, the challenges that we solved were virtual 1. In this challenge, the input was 4 space separated inputs which was checked by a function which actually passed these inputs out, and they were passed through a series of checks and are finally used in the array operations seen in the function. Now the aim of the challenge is to figure out the right sequence of numbers to specify the right operation to satisfy the success condition. And after some searching, we found out that giving the input as 1331 would satisfy all the checks and correctly manipulate the array in the desired way to pass the success condition. The approach taken here was static analysis. And with that we come to the conclusion. So all in all, we solved 4 challenges to accumulate a total of 220 points, and even though we were close to some other challenges, we could not fully solve them. And now the whole thing has been a great learning experience which helped to shed some light on RISC-V, which is definitely an architecture for the future. And we also got familiar to research on improving emulation and decompilation support for RISC-V and other embedded architectures. And we also learned how to work efficiently as a remote team, which is the first for us. And with that, we come to the end of our presentation, and thank you all.